In this video, I'm going to talk about how to extract variables content in Microsoft Power Automate by referencing a SharePoint column. Now, a couple of days back, I posted a video on Power Automate on how to use variables in Power Automate, and Emmanuel Watson has commented that uh, uh, about asking, is it possible to store a SharePoint list output into variable or array? So I thought of authoring a video with regards to that. So just to set the stage, I want to show you the list. So I've created a list called as a Watson list, and it has various column of different data types. So we have a title. So title is a single line of text. Number type is of number. Choice type has some sort of choice items. Date time type is of date time. Image type is of containing an image, that column. Record owner is a person field. Is admin is a boolean, and then hyperlink type is another a hyperlink. Okay, so if I click on new, I can add those records over here. So as you see over here, enter title is a single line of text. Number is just type number. Choice, you can pick up the drop down values. This is a date time control. Okay, and then you can add an image because it's an image type, record owner, boolean, a hyperlink, and then there is an attachment as well. Okay, now here in this list, just to I'll just make use of hard coded values. So if you see in the first item, I have added some values. Okay, the image type is like a png file. I've attached an image, and then the record owner is Alex Wilbur, boolean value, and then I have an attachment as well alongside the list item. So I've tried to get this information in Microsoft Power Automate. Now in Microsoft Power Automate, I have created a basic flow called a SharePoint column extraction. I'd say it's a manually triggered flow, and it doesn't do much thing fancy, but currently it does not have any items in it. Now, the first step, what we need to do is we need to start getting the information from SharePoint. So the first step is always to get the SharePoint item. So if I click on SharePoint, and I'll say get items on SharePoint and say okay. Okay. So get items is the first one. So here it will ask me to put the site address. So I'll put a site address. So dev SharePoint list name is Watson list. And that's it. I'll just rename this because we are going to refer this many times. So get SP items. Okay. So this is how you extract the SharePoint items. Now let's do one thing. Let's first save this flow and try to run this and see what output it generates. So let me close this. Okay. So it's currently saving, and now let me run this flow. So the flow is good to go, and if I see the output of this, the input name is Watson list, and the output is, let me click on click to download, and this is the output. Okay, now it's just one item, but there's a lot of values in it. So I'll just copy this, and then I'll use JSON stack viewer to view the JSON. So I'll just paste the JSON, go to the viewer, and if I see in the body the value, the first item, which is the zeroth index, it will give you all the value like the title, number type, choice type ID. Choice type is the value is Canada, and record owner. So record owner, uh, display name, email address. Then we have is admin field, which is a boolean value. Then the hyperlink type, uh, and yeah, so on and so forth, right? So now if you see over here, uh, we do not have anything related to attachments. Okay, so if I go to SharePoint over here and if I edit this, we have got all the fields in the JSON, but this image type, this image type, and this attachments, okay, we are not able to get that in that JSON, okay, directly. Okay, so we'll be doing something separate for that. But for time being, let's extract title, number type, choice type, date time type, and other fields, whatever is possible using that JSON. Now, in order to extract the first one, the title is very simple. You need to pass through body, value, zeroth item, and title. So we will make use of variable. So let me initialize variable. So the initialize variable, and I'll call it as var title. Type is of string, and the value which I'm going to get from here. Let me click here. Yeah. So go to function, and now we need to get out of the body, right? So body of what? Body of get sp items. Get sp items. And what we want from the body, we want the value. Okay, and then question mark, and then we want a zeroth item, and then we want the title. So if you see this get sp item value zero title. Okay, let me save this. Get sp item from the body value zero and title. Okay, so let's run this and see the output. The value is coming as test one. Now our test is complete, so that means we have extracted the text value. Let's do one thing. Let me copy it to this clipboard. New step, my clipboard, paste it. Okay, then again new step, my clipboard, paste. New step, my clipboard, paste. New step, my clipboard, paste. Okay, so the next item which we are going to do is var number. Okay, so here the title is good, so we'll go for number. Now in number we can pick up say integer. Okay, and we'll copy. So this is that same value. Instead of value of zero of title, we will call this as number type because that's the column name. Okay, save this. Now remember, the integer within SharePoint, if we extract it in Power Automate, we have taken integer, but this may not work. Okay, uh, we'll come to that. Okay, then the third one, uh, we have another column called as choice type. Now choice type is a bit interesting. So let me choice type. Choice type is again the output is of the value string, but then let's go here in the JSON viewer and see the column is value of zero of choice type of value. Value of zero of choice type of value. So value of zero of choice type value. Okay, save this. That's about choice type. Then the next one is date time. So again, where date time, we will call this as so where date time again string, and the value which we are going to copy is where date time type. So instead of title, we will just have date time type. Okay, so I'll just save this. Then next item which we are going to see is the record owner email, right? So a record owner email again, if you see here, value of zeroth. of record owner of email. Okay, so again, it's we are just parsing the JSON and we are trying to put that in a variable. Okay. And again, I will copy one more for the Boolean variable. So again, Boolean is also simple. If we go here, where body value 0, and there was a column called as is admin. Okay, so I'll just copy the value. Yeah, and this type we can use Boolean. Okay, so what we have done, we have taken the Boolean value, which is where Boolean, which is basically an is admin field in SharePoint. This one is the date time, and then so on and so forth. So we have title, we have number, we have the Boolean value, we have the date time. So I think it should be good. So let me save this and again run this and see whether we can extract the value or not. Okay, so the flow runners failed. What it says, the variable where number of type integer cannot be initialized or updated with value of type float. Okay, so that means the value which that field is getting is a float. Okay, so although you have in SharePoint you have created this column as number type, while retrieving you need to make use of float, and that's why I mentioned to you while creating that variable that we can't use an integer variable, we need to use something else, and let's see what value we can use. So choice type is good. Yeah, so here the type we need to use float. Okay, so if I save this, flow runs successfully. So if you see the output, this one is the title, which is test one. So that matches the SharePoint test one. Number is 23. Number is 23. Yes, that is correct. Then we have choice type as Canada. Choice type is Canada. Date time 11th of the 27th. Date time is 11th of the 27th. So that is good. Then we have email address Alex W. Alex Wilbur email address. And the last one is Boolean true. So Boolean value is true. Okay, so we have covered the basic data type and it all works fine. Now looking into the attachments and the image type, now all these are files. Okay, so how do we go ahead and extract those things? Now we can't directly get from the SharePoint get items. Okay, so we need to do something special. So for attachment, now we are talking about attachment. Okay, so attachment means, I will tell you, attachment is not the image type, attachment is this. Okay, so if we want to extract this, how do we extract? Is we need to use another SharePoint command. So get attachments. So you have SharePoint get attachments. Now within SharePoint get attachments, you need to type in the site address, which is dev. List name is Watson list, and ID. We have hard coded the ID, and that's why I've kept that ID as one. Okay, so that's how you get all the list of the attachments which is required uh, to parse that file. Now, for attachment file name, again we need to create a variable. So let me create a variable with the same variable. I'll just copy, and here instead of where title, I'll say file attachment. Now this it's of type string because we are just going to extract the file name for it. Okay, so if we see here the file name. Okay, now how do you get the file name? Okay, how do you know what value it is? Okay, so let me not put anything over here. Okay, I'll just save this. and I'll try to run this, and I'll try to get the JSON. And once I get the JSON, I will try to pass that value. So I've run this flow, and if I see get attachments, it will give me some sort of JSON. I'll copy this JSON. I'll go into the JSON viewer, go to the text, Control V, viewer, zeroth item, and the file name is display name. Simple. Okay. Now again, going to the flow, edit it. So I'll just rename this as get attachment. Always better not to put space, when you rename the control. Uh, and here, in the function body of get attachment, zeroth item display name, zeroth item display name, and oh, I just need to save this, and we'll save this, and again I'll try to run this, which I'm interested in, and yes, you are able to get the file name attachment. So that's what it is. Okay, now all good. Only thing remaining is how to extract this image tag. Now this is a bit complex manipulation operation we may need to do. Now just to give you a context of it, in SharePoint we have a data type called as an image. Okay, so I'll show you how to create that column. So if you create add column, okay, and then here you will see add an image column type, and then you click next, and that's how I've added this image column type. But where does this file get stored? Okay, this is not a document library, this is a list. So let me duplicate this screen. So in SharePoint, if we go into the backend, site contents, okay. So in site contents, there is a folder, there is a document library basically called as site assets. And within site assets, there is a folder called as lists. And here you will see the GUID of that particular list and the item associated with it. Now, if you see here, this one, associate.png, okay, this is that same file which is attached over here. Okay, so this, once you attach in this list, it gets stored in the site assets list. Okay, now we need to extract the value from here. Okay, so how do we go about that? Okay, so it's a bit a complex process. You can't use directly get attachment, get sp items, and so on and so forth. So what do you do with it? So first thing, let me show you how to extract the value. Now, before we even extract the value, we need to understand the SharePoint control by default will not support it. So if I go to SharePoint, and then within SharePoint, let's take help of HTTP, send an HTTP request to SharePoint. Now we know the site address, we know it is dev, and we are going to get the get method. Now in SharePoint, if we want to query a list item, so we need to form some URL. Okay, now if you see, this is my SharePoint site URL. Okay, so let me open it in Notepad, and let's form the URL. So this is my URL. Now how to extract the list item using API is you put underscore API slash list. Okay, then there is a method called as get by title. Okay, and now here you need to put the list name. Okay, so xxx, this is the list name. Then we want items. Okay, items from that list, and I will extract the item ID of one. Okay, and the column name. Now the column name for me is image type. Okay, now how to get the column name? The column name, this is the display name. Okay, now if you want to see the column name, you go to list settings and go into the backend and click on image type, and here you will come to know what is the exact name of that image type column. So it is image type, there is no space in between. So if you see here, the field equal to image type, the display name is image type, but image type with a space, but field name is image type. So let me copy this, and again go back, and I know the column name is image type, so I'll just paste it over here. So this is how I form the URL. Okay, underscore API list get by title xxx items one image type. Now what is the name of my list? Name of my list is Watson list. So there is a space. So that's why you have person 20 embedded. Okay. So I'll just copy this. Now let me do one thing. Let me copy this and let me append this. Okay. So now this is that URL. Let's see what happens when I hit this in a browser. So if I go here and if I paste this, then it will give me the file name from where that value is stored. Okay, so if you see this JSON, this XML, basically it says there is a component called a server relative URL, and this is that file name associate.png. Now we need to extract this. Now how do we extract this? So there is a multi-step process. So we'll go into the flow. Now when I go into the flow, we have this items. So we have this URI rather. So this will extract the value. So let me save this. So here I get the output. So I'll copy this output, put it in JSON viewer, and view zeroth item, deep zeroth item, and image type. Okay, D image type. So again, we may need to pass this as a part of JSON. Okay, so for that, let me edit and add an action. So maybe a pass JSON, and content is coming from send an HTTP request body and generate from sample. Is the payload done? Save, and here maybe I will just again use so let's say use a compose action just to see what the value is sent from pass JSON. So here get the value from pass JSON image type. Okay, let's take the value as image type. Okay, save. See the output. Here is the output. Okay, now let me copy this, and again we need to pass this to JSON because we need to get the this server relative URL from here, right? So this is server relative URL which you need to extract. Now click on edit, click here, add an action, pass JSON. It's a multi-step extraction process. It's not straightforward. So content is coming from, let me say, pass JSON image type, and schema generate from sample. Done. Save. Test. So coming back to here, if I see the pass JSON2 value over here, now we have got the output. Now this output is properly formatted. So I've got the server relative URL and I can use this value. Okay. Now next step is we have got all the URL. What do we do next? So we make use of SharePoint get file content. Okay, so if you go to SharePoint, then we need to now extract the file. Okay, so get file, is there a get file content? So let me see. So get file content. So I got to get file content for SharePoint, site address again, the dev site, and the file identifier. Now this time the file identifier is, okay, now here we may need to write some expression. Okay, now the expression is basically I'll just put it in notepad. Okay. So this is that expression, encode URI component. Okay, and replace, and the body of parse JSON2 which we have just extracted the server relative URL from. So here, from here we get the server relative URL, and then we say this belongs to site slash dev SharePoint, and then the last parameter will be of blank. Okay, so I'll just copy this. So what essentially it does is like it relates that file, because this file is from dev SharePoint. However, it is stored in server relative URL path, which I showed you a while back, that is stored in the site assets. Okay, so if I just go to expression and I just paste this value, okay, and let's save this and see whether it is giving you the proper output or not. And I think it ran successfully. So if I go to get file content, if I click to download, then it will give you that image in a raw format. Okay, now how do we view the image? That's the next complex action. So maybe let's do one thing. Let's view that in our say Outlook connector. Okay, so if I write add an action, send email v2, let me send this to myself. Subject is just image and the body. Okay, so in the body, let's make use of some code. Okay, now the code is simple. Okay, we just need to render the image. Okay, but we have the raw format. So the code is img src equal to, okay, the path of that image and then slash. Okay, so this is what the syntax looks like. Now here in this, we need to make use of data colon image slash. So our file name is png, right? So I'm just hard coding it for now. Semicolon, it is simply 64. Okay, and comma and some value, so maybe it's y. Okay, so this is the syntax. So let me copy this and I put a p. Okay, html tag. So let me go into the code part, and here maybe I can copy that code. Okay, so this is that code. Now instead of y, I need to do something. Okay, so I'll go to function, and in function I will use the base64 function of the file content. So file content is under dynamic values, and get file content. Okay, save this, and yes, I think now it's fine. So y is replaced by base64. So let me save. So in send email, there is a bit of correction. Like I saw that there is a typo. It should be data and not date. So imgsrc is data colon image slash png semicolon base 64 comma, and then the function base 64 function. We are calling the base 64 function on the raw content, which we receive from the get file content. So let me save this and test it manually. So if everything works out, then the image should be attached in an email. You received an email, and if you see here, I have some text hello, and then this image which I have extracted from the SharePoint list item, which is basically the Watson list, and this is that item. Okay, so yeah, so this is that item. So image type is associate.png. Now again, thanks for watching, guys. So from extracting SharePoint column to a Power Automate is simple for some of the values, as we have seen, like a single line of text, number, choice, date, time, type, record owner, Boolean value, hyperlink. But for an image type, it is a bit complex because it is the file gets stored in the site assets in the backend, which I showed you here. So you need to point the file name and then try to extract this value. So so that's it. This is all about extracting values in Microsoft Power Automate from SharePoint. Thanks for watching.